What's up, live stream viewers? This is Indy, and this is my second official WoW community show live. I think you guys will be really excited this week. We have Towelliee joining us. Needs no introduction. I'm sure most of his fans are in here watching. And my second guest this week is Nemacyst, and both of which these guys have in common is that they are tanks. And that's the reason I entitled this show The Frontlines, because tanks are essentially always on the front lines, they're always in first, and they're always taking the beating. These guys also have something else in common. They've both been victims to my incessant life gripping, and they made it out the other side just fine. As you guys can see, they're both alive, they both survived Indy's life gripping. So, it's good fun, it's good fun. In most cases, it could have saved you. Yeah, that's right. I was introducing Nemi as our DK tank. He's been a Death Knight tank, as far as I know, since Burning Crusade. And he's also the guild leader of Troika over on Garona server Horde side. Towelliee, as I said, needs no real introduction. He's a Pally tank. He's a TGN director, and he's a professional gamer. He does live streaming pretty much every day. And most of you guys already know him. Now, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about tanking because I get a lot of questions about tanks in general and like how do I feel about these changes, but as a healer who hasn't really touched a tanking class since Burning Crusade, I can't really answer most of these questions. So how long have each of you guys been tanking? Towelliee, when did you start your Pally tank?
The first day of Burning Crusade,
How about
when it came out.
how about you, Nemi? You have a DK tank, so did that start in Burning Crusade also?
Well, DKs didn't come out till Lich King, but
Oh, that's
yeah, when Wrath came out, I switched.
So what were you before that?
A lock.
So you had no tanking before that DK came out. What made you
Well,
change?
I tanked a little on a warrior. I was always horde, so I never got into the blood elf thing to play a paladin. So I tanked it on a warrior. I just fell out of care for my lock. They weren't as fun at the beginning of Wrath, and the DK just fit more my style of play and my desire to what I wanted to accomplish in the game.
So what keeps you guys tanking? Because I know it's kind of it's an underappreciated job, and usually tanks are the first ones to get the blame, and healers. But what keeps you tanking to this day? Look
I
over.
guess it's my love for doing bosses in hard modes, really. Before Burning Crusade, I was a warrior tank as it was, so I don't know, I have a thing for just downing bosses. Then once the hard modes came out, hard modes is what actually kept me going more on, you know, improving upon my tanking skills and putting myself on another level of progression. And as long as there's hard modes out there, I'll basically go out to any MMO that has a hard mode. I just don't like the easy way out of things. And yeah, I kind of like it that way. I mean, it is tedious. You got to do it. Sometimes if you're the main tank of a guild, you have to always be there every night, no matter what. Even if it's farm progression, even if you're doing 20 years of Old War runs for 18 million healers as Valeniers and stuff like that, you have to be there every night. So it's kind of almost like it's your job that you have to be there,
Yeah.
Every night, or else they'll just, try to find someone else that will replace you.
Right. DPS is rather interchangeable, even healers, but tanks are the ones that take the beating and keep coming back. And I guess you feel like since you're a tank, you have a little bit more control over wipes because generally, not in every encounter, but there's a lot more margin for error with a DPS class. Like they can screw up. If a tank screws up, I mean, look at Heroic Alyss Resort or even regular. If a tank dies, you're kind of screwed. So you have more responsibility. Is that why you like it also?
Well, for me, it just came as a natural form of my play style. Being guild leader, raid leader, the tank just fit more into the more of the controlling factor of the battlefield type mentality that I've had since I've been playing any game. Always tried to, like you said, the frontline individual. So yeah, I guess more of the responsibility rests on your shoulder to an extent. I think that no individual role is as replaceable, but I think, most guilds have less tanks. So once you get the good ones, the really good ones, are the ones that help the guild progress in whatever form, I think that you're going to see them stay a lot longer while you may have healers and DPS come and go.
So, I wanted to ask both of you guys because I meddled a little bit in tanking during the Burning Crusade, and that was for a very brief period of time just because I wanted to see what it was like. It was one thing that I'd never tried. And I know that even though I didn't succeed at it, it did make me a better healer in some ways. Like, have you guys ever dabbled in healing, and do you feel like it could help you in your role, like if you ever did try to heal?
I just started a healer. I just over in the European servers, I just leveled my Resto Shaman. I recruiter friended him to 80, and it kind of it's made me see more of like I guess the other side of the spectrum. I'm always that tank going on there. I'm always complaining on my live stream the healer's not healing. Like, man, this healer sucks. God, regenerate your mana faster. Do something. Heal me. I'm dying. And then all of a sudden I'm playing the healer. Everyone's dying. I'm flipping. I'm freaking out. I'm casting. I'm just mashing any button I can, hoping that'll heal somebody. People die. Then it's like you get kicked out of the dungeon.
Well,
And
yeah.
then it's kind of like, okay, well, I mean, looking at it from a healer perspective, I don't know. I mean, it seems like a way tougher job, in my opinion, than taking. I think healing is more of a everyone needs to rely on you to be topped off, to be healed, and I don't know. I found it frustrating when I was healing on my shaman, but I like it. I like healing now. It's pretty okay. I might rate a little bit on it, just a little bit.
You have to like it. I'm pretty sure we can all agree you have to like what you do because I couldn't stand the tanking role. I mean, and I only ever did heroics and instancing with mine, and then I just gave up. But I think you really have to love what you do. Nemi, did you ever consider, or have you ever tried healing, and did you ever consider that it might make you a better tank, seeing the other side of things?
Yeah, I've tried each role, I guess, when it comes to be it range, melee, DPS, or healing. I never really felt that tanking was my strong suit until I got into my shaman. When goblins came out, I was like, I'm gonna make a shaman, and I actually love it. It's a lot of fun. It's a heal style that's a lot different than the other ones. So. I don't know if it makes me a better tank, but it makes me really understand the frustration that healers go through.
Yeah.
Speaking of healers, how important is it to both of you? Well, Tally's in hard mode, so I'm sure you're kind of maybe working with a core group of the same people all the time. How important is it to you to have like 100% confidence in your healer?
Oh, it's a huge. That's something that people really underestimate in World of Warcraft is the whole tank healership thing. I mean, for me, it takes a long time to raid with a certain healer and trust them to actually heal me before I can actually say, hey, you know what? I don't fear that I'm going to die at any moment in this fight. But yeah, I mean, in general, the whole healer-tank relationship thing is something that's very special to me in general. And I have it with a few people currently right now in my guild. But every time you have like a new healer and they're like, hey, okay, new healer, you're healing Towelliee, I'm like, I'll go ahead and I'll whisper to the other healer, yo, can you watch my back really quick, just in case anything happens or goes wrong?
Yeah.
Because for me, it's like really like a trust factor. It's kind of almost like when you're like married or something. But with the healers, people they just underestimate, or they're just not really grateful for that like healer tank relationship that should be there at all times, because that's the person that's keeping you up the entire time. You may be tanking the boss, you may be the one who decides whether a melee pulls aggro and gets meleeed and wipes everyone else, but with the healer's not there, you got nothing. So I mean, healer tank relationship very important. That's just the way I see it.
How about you, Nemi? I mean, you do a lot of forming of your raid groups and you do a lot of recruitment for the guild since you run the whole thing. How important is that to you in your raid?
Well, I think that when you do get a new healer, or when you get a healer that really knows your playstyle and the flow that you get from a tanking standpoint, you run into this, like Tolly was saying, a kinship between you and a specific healer. If you're main tanking, off tanking a specific fight, they know your playstyle, they know how your life fluctuates based on spikes, especially from a DK standpoint. So you really get those certain healers that you work with really well, and then you get other ones and you're really skeptical. You're like the same exact thing. You're talking to your heal lead, what do you think about this person healing me, or watch my back.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it gets to the point, at least I know, when I'm healing the same tank every night, I know when he's going to use his personal cooldowns, and I know when it's time for me to use mine. I know if, God forbid, he needs a life grip, like, it just gets to that, you get into this rhythm, and then when you switch up healers and tanks, things can get really screwed up. So I was just wondering, with the tank standpoint on that is because as a healer, you generally like to have the same assignments too. It just makes things run that much smoother. Guys, I'm going to do my first quick 30-second break. Hang out there and chat. If you have questions for them, feel free to type them because I am going to be doing your guys' questions at some point after this break. So we'll be right back. All right, you guys, we are back. So now I did pull a lot of questions from what viewers send me in my TGN mail and on YouTube because, again, these are things that I generally either don't have an opinion on because I'm not a tank or because I just hold on to them for when I can ask tanks, and we have two tonight. So the one that's been coming up the most is since that the patch hotfix, what is your, and I'll go to Towelliee first, what is your take on this implementation? Threat generation for all tanks increased to 500%, applies to warriors in defensive, death knights in blood, and druids in bear form, and paladins in righteous fury. So was this something you liked, disliked, or you could care less about?
I have mixed feelings about it. I think like tank threat generation is kind of something that we have like in our little tank circle sometimes. You know, it's kind of like, you know, who could do more threat, me or the other tank? You know, when you're doing pugs, who could do more threat, me or the other tank? You do like little runs with against other tanks. Who's doing more threat? And it's kind of like the change was really good for those tanks that are kind of like leveling up through dungeons. You know, the one you have those guys with super BOA gear, but then you have that small little paladin tank who's in green and blues. Poor little guy, he can't get any aggro. Well, now he's okay. But I guess like on a hard modes, I guess it doesn't really matter. And what it does is it kind of makes it maybe mindless tanking in some sorts, because I know after the change came out, all I really had to do was press like one of my abilities, and I just had instant aggro on the target. And that really it's not fun for me that way. You know, I like going through my whole rotation, which I still do. But in general, I didn't like the change. I didn't think that they really needed to amp it up that much. Maybe they could have gone about it like a different way.
Right.
I mean, and altogether, if they're thinking about just, you know, removing threat, then just remove it and don't make these like ridiculous changes. Just maybe have us do more DPS instead, and that might help more toward like enrage timers or not. But I just don't like the idea that that any tank now could just put on a two-hander of your Death Knight, sword and board, and just go around slapping stuff around, and you have instantaneous threat, and you're known as a good tank. So it's kind of like more, to me, of just Blizzard, I guess, trying the little guys, and at the same time not doing anything else for us, because we didn't have threat issues to begin with.
Right, yeah, and that's like what we noticed is none of us even read the notes, and then we went into raid one night, and it was like, holy hell, the tank couldn't pull the dog off the other tank or something, so it was really crazy. Nemi, is that something that actually affected you, that you care at all about with that hotfix?
Well, from a DK standpoint, your mitigation is a lot, I mean, unless you do the dodge parry aspect, your mitigation is based heavily on the fact that you hit the mob, so you already are stacking your hit and expertise to a point to where you really need to make sure you're landing, you know, your death strikes and everything else. So threat never was an issue. I mean, it's even less of an issue now. I mean, to the point to what Towelliee was saying, you can just white swing and keep threat on mobs to a point where it's pretty ridiculous. I agree that, you know, they should either remove the threat aspect from the game or make it to where you don't feel as it's not so lackadaisical in what you do. You don't just sit there, hit two buttons, and kind of, you know, oh, I'll be right back, I'm going to get a drink. You know, and that's what it feels like at times.
Right, and that's kind of, they're taking the fun out of holding threat. They're just kind of giving it to you. I understand that. The next thing I wanted to ask you guys was when Firelands had first come out, going into these raid instances as a tank, what was your first impression of learning these fights? Did you feel that that was too easy, or did you feel like, because in some fights where tanks have like extra responsibility, and it seems like I'm watching tanks go through certain fights, I'm like, wow, that's really hard on them. How did you feel about that? Towelliee, how about you?
I thought the fights were, I think on normal modes, the fights were pretty simple going in, but like I said, depends on what kind of progression you're on. I mean, I went there, the place looked beautiful. I was impressed with the way that the Firelines looked, and once I went in there, we were doing the bosses, like, wow, this stuff is pretty easy. But from a tank perspective, I mean, a lot of the fights are mainly like gimmick fights, like Galithrazor, and you had Rhyolith with the legs, and Shanix was a pretty fun fight. Bethalak was even more fun. But it wasn't, I don't believe it was that hard. Firelands kind of reminds me of like a lower toned ICC, where it's kind of like, you know, the first 6 bosses are kind of like, yeah, you can clear those in 2 hours, but then you reach something like Heroic Rag or a la fucking, sorry, Lich King, I'm trying not to curse that much.
No, it's okay. You can
La,
say fuck.
fuck, shit, cock, sorry. Lich King 25 Heroic Mode, and you kind of run into this huge roadblock. It's like, wow, the difficulty level just jumped from like 50% to like 300%. So, you know, the instance, I believe, is pretty simple from a tank perspective, even for all the hard modes, all the way up to Heroic Rag. And even for Heroic Rag, that's an easy fight to tank. You're just tanking, taunting off each other. But in terms of mechanics, I'm kind of impressed with Heroic Ragnaros and how tough it is. But yeah, it kind of reminds you of that ICC differentiation there, like, or excuse me, association, where it's like, you know, 11 to 12 was easy, then you hit Lich King and you were there for like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Kind of like the same ordeal.
Yeah, it is kind of the same. The learning curve on Heroic Rat. Well, we're not there yet. We still have one in the way, but it looks kind of insane. So I can't wait to get there. Nemi, how about you with entering Firelands? I mean, I know you've been in pretty much every raid because you kind of have to be there. What was your impressions of that from your tank standpoint? And do you feel like things should have been easier, harder?
I think that they kind of dumbed down tanking somewhat in Cataclysm, more than, it's more of just like a, you know where to stand type situation, or do your rotation right. It doesn't really give, I mean, hopefully the new stuff going forward, there's a better sense of it, but it just seemed more dumbed down from the tank standpoint because, you know, even fights that have a gimmick to them, like Ellis Resort, it's just, you know, do your rotation and you win. So I think the biggest thing that, you know, while I love the encounters and, you know, some of the models look amazing and you know, it's a really cool outdoor zone, I just think that tanking was dumbed down to the point that, you know, you can get some really bad tanks in there that can perform pretty well based on the fact that they're being carried.
I guess I'm always looking at tanking as a hard job because I don't know enough about it. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people are telling me I should try to level 1 and learn how to do it. So that should be really amusing to watch. Maybe I'll ask you guys for advice on that when I get there. Another question I wanted to ask you guys that I do get a lot of is for, now I've been playing since Classic, and I know that tanking back then is not what it is now. So what do you think the learning curve is for a new player, say just coming in and they want to tank, but they haven't ever played one before? Do you think that they can essentially just go in and learn gear, not depending on the gear, just assuming they can get the gear? Do you think that it's something that somebody can just pick up and do now?
I think so, yeah. I think it's something that you could start up playing a tank at level 1. You know, just read a few forum posts here and there, figure out, oh, hey, okay, I got to taunt for this guy, and all right, I got to hit this button to get some aggro. And just, I mean, the basic tanking mechanics should be pretty easy to learn for anyone who starts tanking. And I think once they actually hit the max level, maybe they might be confused at first because they look at it a whole nother level when they go to heroics and they go to raiding. But yeah, I think anyone should be able to be a tank and pick it up. I mean, from the way it was back in Classic. In Classic, it was tougher. You know, there were only warrior tanks. I was a warrior tank back then, and you couldn't just pick up tanking right off the bat and be in some sort of progression goal. You actually had to like learn everything. And whereas now it's a little bit more dumbed down, and I think it's easier nowadays. Ever since probably Wrath of the Lich King, to pick up a tank, pick up a sword and board two-handers, a Death Knight, and just go in there and eventually get geared, and then, you know, a few little tips here and there from another tank or another Death Knight you may talk to, and you're already, you know, tanking like regular modes and hard modes.
I also wanted to ask you this, because I know that you may or may not have played another tank class, but why a Paladin, and what do you feel is the strongest tank class there is right now?
Why did I pick a Paladin? I got bored of my warrior. After next 40, we weren't able to kill Kel'Thuzad, so I got a little upset, and I took like a 3-month break, and then I heard that, oh man, Paladin tanks might be able, or Paladins might be able to be viable tanks, and I was like, oh, let me try it out. Oh, look at that, they have a Blood Elf race coming out with Burning Crusade. Let me give it a try. So I gave it a try. I never looked back. I kind of like the whole holy damage aspect of it, and it's pretty fun, especially for AoE tanking, which is what we were back then. You know, they would call us, the ad bitches. We've been ad bitches since the Burning Crusade, even until now. We're still ad bitches. And but overall, I like to think Paladin tanks are the top tanks out there. I think they have the most utility for a raid for themselves and for the raid. They have an array of cooldowns. They have that raid wall that's so useful. You see so many guilds nowadays just stacking prop paladins just for raid wall on hard modes. They were doing it even back in the Lich King. Ardent Defender was another crutch that we have that people were using back in Child of Grand Crusader. We just have so much in our arsenal to use, and now even with Word of Glory, guarded by the light talent, you have the chance to get yourself at full vengeance in about a matter of 5 seconds on a hard mode boss. Pop a Word of Glory, and all of a sudden you just built yourself like a 50, 60k shield. You can also help out the healers at any time, Word of Glorying other players. Spot healing other players while you're not tanking. It's something that other tanks really can't do, except for maybe like a Druid, but I rarely see Druids coming out of bear form to heal in the middle of a raid. But
Yeah.
I just think that overall Paladin tanks have just like a more to their arsenal than the other tanks, and it's probably something that Blizzard has to look at to kind of even out with the other tanks.
Yeah, and it was funny when you were saying about 40-man next, because I remember being there, and in that day and age, that was like really hard. It was it was all we had after, let's see, it was AQ, and then there was this lull, and then Nax came out, and then we didn't have enough time to finish it. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying about that. Nemi, what do you think about this? Do you think that you picked a DK just specifically because you thought it was the best tanking class, or if you could switch now, what would you pick?
I wouldn't switch for my DK. I love the play style from it. Like I said, I tried the sword and board style. I like more of the reactive type tanking, where you actually it feels more fluid than when I was on the warrior. Not to say that I disagree with any of the other play styles. I just and even Blizz has thought about going towards a more reactive type tank style that DKs have, because it gives them more. It gives us more like we have, like Paladins have it because they have, like he says, they have back in Wrath, they have their 9-6-9 rotation, and they're throwing heals here and cleanses here, so they have it. But warriors don't, and druids don't. They're more just real self-reliant, and while DKs are, it's more what necessarily needs to be done to keep yourself actively alive. So no, I wouldn't switch from a DK.
That's weird because you were talking about warriors and druids, and our main tanks that we heal are a warrior and a druid. I generally don't. Now, we do have a Ret Pally that does tank for certain heroic modes, because like you were saying, Tally, that the cooldowns are indispensable sometimes. But yeah, I mean, now, Nemi, you guys are about to finish off Firelands, right? So at some point there, when you're trying to down heroic modes, it's going to be a lot more, it is going to be a lot more hard on your tanks. You guys are going to be taking hits, and like, it's going to be a little crazy to start, because I remember starting out. Are you planning on keeping your comp the same? Is it like DK warrior tank for you guys?
Yeah, 99% of the time it's DK Warrior. It's the most active tanks that we have, and have been in the guild and progressed through. When we move into heroic of other versions and stuff like that, it's always been the same, where those were the two tanks that were pretty much breaking the content.
Right. So I mean, I think honestly, as far as classes go, because it is a lot, it's a question I get a lot of. There's really is no. Each class has their benefits in the tanking aspect, like they all have their cooldowns, or would there be one that's just completely undesirable? Because I honestly don't know. I'll go to Nemi first.
I think if looking at like the top end and progression type spectrum, Paladins bring a lot more, I guess, oh shit abilities than any of the tanks. it really gives the flavor to them in regards to the high-end tanking. But I think that, you know, Blizzard's done a good job in designing any tank capable of tanking the content. It just really depends on the skill level of the player and how hard they actually want what they're trying to do.
Cool.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, you guys, I'm going to take a quick 30-second break here, and when we come back, I have a couple more questions for you guys. And everybody thinks Towelliee looks like Matrix. Just thought I'd add that in there tonight.
Yeah.
I'll be right back, guys. Okay, we are back. So, I didn't want to forget to thank you, Towelliee, for being here because I was really excited. Actually, the viewers were extremely excited that you'd be able to join us tonight because you do a lot of streaming yourself. You're extremely busy. You stream leveling up and PvP on the EU server. You stream tally rating. You stream your other DK that you PvP with, and sometimes you have me as a guest there. So you do a lot of stuff. So we definitely appreciate you being here. What I wanted to ask you is, lately you've been doing, obviously you've been rating the hard modes. You need to get Heroic Rag down, and then you guys are cleared. Outside of that, the EU server playing, the live streaming, you do vlogs very frequently, and we all know that you have a recent insurgence of Steam games. So do you ever feel like anything's going to pull you from WoW? Because I know that there's a lot of games on the cusp of coming out.
Oh, anything gonna pull me from WoW? That's tough. I've had there's been so many times where, you know what? There's been times where I've tried to get the fuck out of WoW. I'm like, please, something, come on, take me away. I can't do this anymore. And then it's like I just keep coming back after a new raid comes out. You know, I mean, I don't leave like 50 times and come back, but no, I don't know. I mean, I'm currently in the Star Wars beta, and I'm loving the beta. I'm currently actually loving being a tank in Star Wars. You know, obviously I can't say much about the game,
Yeah.
but I love being a tank in that game right now. And I love it so much. I've been leveling like several different styles of tanks in that game, and it's like that seems to be something. Like if BioWare keeps to their promise and they say that, you know, there's actually going to be hard modes in Star Wars, then that's something that I might look into. But then, you know, and now and then once you have like Modern Warfare 3, you have Gears of War, you have Battlefield 3, you have like all these games coming out, yeah. And it's just a lot. It's a lot to handle. But if there's any one game that's probably going to take me away from WoW or take my time away from WoW, it's more than likely going to be something like Star Wars, if they can actually keep up with the content and make a promise on their hard modes.
Somebody in chat is saying PvE for life, so I don't think they want you to leave. Wow. But yeah, I know you have quite a few games to try out from Steam, right? You've got a lot of games to play.
Yeah, Nancy Drew.
Unicorns?
Secret of the Unicorn. Secret of the... My girlfriend's over there saying, I'll play the Nancy Drew for you. I'm like, no, it's okay. I'll do a 10-minute video on that. Secret of the Unicorns. There's like, I don't know, like the guys hooked me up with like 59, 60 games. And I have so much to play.
That's a lot of content there. How about you, Nemi? Do you think that, I mean, because I know you run the guild, so obviously you have to be in game like all the time. You've got lots of stuff to do. But outside of being their main tank, leading the guilds, and everything that comes along with it, what do you do outside the game? Are there any other games you're playing right now? I know you do console gaming, and is there anything that could pull you from WoW?
At this time, there's really not an MMO that I'm like, oh my god, I want to get my hands on it. I'm interested in the Knights, but by BioWare, but you know, I'm gonna wait and see. You know, I haven't gotten to the beta yet. Cross my fingers, maybe I will. But and from console, currently playing Dead Island. Just finished Deus Ex. Yeah, you know, I've been a gamer for a long time. You know, Killzone 3, stuff like that. You know, I enjoy the challenges games bring. So, but there's nothing that's going to pull me directly away from WoW.
So, as far as and I wanted to also ask because a lot of people ask about like guild politics and all the inner workings of that kind of stuff. And I know from experience what kind of goes on behind the scenes. I'm kind of glad to not be in a guild officer position anymore because you guys deal with a lot day in and day out. Just, I mean, aside from rating, aside from learning the progression, what kind of things are required of you every day to keep your guild like progressing and stable?
I delegate everything to other people, so I don't have to do anything.
So you don't do
No,
anything?
no, I have a great set of officers and people that I work with on a daily basis that really help keep the guild running. I'm not, from, another raid leader. We're only a 10-man guild this time, trying to get more people to break back into 25 like we were in Wrath, but, a lot of people left the game when Cataclysm came out. Your daily in and outs, from normal guild drama that happens just because you get human interaction to, looking at the next set of strats and videos and finding out what's necessary for each individual person and what needs to be done.
Cool.
So I think the biggest thing that I run into is, really it's just the basic questions. I mean, more or less. I mean, the guild at this point in time, until someone decides to cause any kind of drama, runs itself. As long as you have a presence, you make yourself known, you answer those questions that need to be answered.
Plus, you guys do a lot of activities outside of raiding, which kind of keeps people more together and close-knit.
Right. Yeah. You were there when you were in Troika. We did the gnome races, and we did one not too long ago. Just silly stuff to make sure that we can keep the camaraderie that Troika kind of has together. Doing old content right now. People are currently farming gear for transmog and stuff like that.
Well, that's another thing I was going to bring up as far as transmog. Ellen Dilly, if you're in chat, post that link over to Troika because those guys are looking to turn a 10 into a 25, and they're a really great bunch of people. So, I mean, you guys, if you're Horde side, if you're on Garona or looking to transfer for the right guild, definitely check them out. They have an app forum there, or is an application form that you just send over. Yeah, there's the link. As far as transmog goes, guys, and obviously people are asking me what I'm going to do. I know exactly what I'm going to do with mine. Do you think it's a cool implementation for the future patch? And what are you going to... I have to ask you, Towelliee, are you going to be in full judgment?
No. I wasn't around for Judgment. I'm going to be in full Tier 6 with the Tempest of Chaos from Archimon and the Bulwark of Azeroth. That's what I'm going to be rocking.
That'll look cool.
I looked most amazing. Well, I was a blood elf then. I'm not sure how it's going to... But,
You're a dwarf now?
Yeah, well, my main tanking paladin is a dwarf, Stoneform for the win. And yeah, that's what I got rocking. Definitely Tier 6 with that Tempest of Chaos, the spell power weapon that I used to steal from Warlocks as a tank and make them G quit. And then the Bulwark of Azeroth on Paladin. Yeah, that was amazing. Back when Paladin tanks loved spell power weapons.
Yeah, I remember those days too. That was lots of fun to argue because I was a healer at that point in time. And Nemi, are you planning on doing anything with transmog since kind of like all the DK tanks sort of look the same right now?
Well, I've never been a fan of DK gear for the longest time. If it's PvP, it looks like a motorcycle helmet. They give us some of the most hideous helmets in the I'm gonna go T7 25-man, the old 25-man Nax stuff, I think, was probably the best-looking DK gear. I'm not a fan of any of the new stuff. It just seems to, I don't know, it doesn't fit I guess the lore and stuff behind it.
So you're definitely both going to do something with that. I know there's going to be a ton of pallies running around in full judgment because it looks cool, but definitely Towelliee running around in Tier 6 is going to look different from everybody else. Although now, you never know, people might be like, oh yeah, that's cool, I'm going to do that too.
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you guys, hold on, I'm losing my spot here, and I said I wasn't going to do that. So, okay. What if anything, and this is one from a viewer from earlier, what, if anything, would you like to see change to your tanking class at some point in the future? Or you could just say that you like things the way they are right now. Because every tanking class seems to like totally dislike something or something that's taken from them. Tally.
I don't know. I mean, I like Paladin tanks the way they are right now. Can I have a charge? Sorry, I know every warrior just cringed when I said that. No, I don't know what I would want more other than what I have now. They've made so many changes to Holy Shield. I would change Holy Shield back to what it was when it was a threat with react damage rather than the damage mitigation it is now. I kind of liked it back in Burning Crusade when it did that, when you had like a nice 5, 6, whatever it was, like 5 charges of Holy Shield, and it would do like a lot of damage every time you did block and whatnot. That's something that I would want back or want changed, because it doesn't change the Holy Shield. They really don't even know what to do anymore. And that's pretty much it. Other than that, yeah, give me a charge. I like that because charges are fun.
Yeah, and you know, warriors, they have charge, they've got the leap, and like DKs, they can like grip things. Druids can, I guess, theoretically bounce into travel or sprint and or like if they have to get somewhere or kite something.
Barrel charge.
Yeah, so I mean, like, you know, paladins are kind of just hoofing it everywhere, unless you get life gripped. Nemi, how about you? Is there anything with DK tanking right now that you feel is broken or needs changing?
I think they're solving it. I think with the water cooler they did recently, I think they're solving some of the issues that I saw happening when they did the changes where threat went through the roof. DKs were the only class that were still required to keep a good enough hit and expertise to keep their mitigation shield up. So we don't gain the same survivability from it in the end. We're still, stacking hit and expertise to a point to keep, your mitigation shield up unless you go the dodge parry route. And I think with the change to still healing and still healing life from Death Strike, I don't like the change that they're doing. The I'm gonna be lazy blade barrier. So I'm hoping that it's not something that they say, oh well, it works now, we're just gonna leave it like that. The change to outbreak is really nice. So I think that Blitz actually taking DKs in a better route, and it gives us a little bit more control over how you want to play the class.
So, for both of you guys, this is another one that is from our viewers. I still have my tally thing over here too somewhere. Let me find it. No, I don't. I did a tally note one night too. Where is it?
Ooh.
Here it is. I still have it. You remember that? It was the first night I put the webcam on.
That's cool. Yeah.
I won't do the booby pictures though. I'm a little shy for that.
Oh, don't worry about that. Just,
you got plenty of those. You got Mia Rose on your site right now, actually. What was I gonna ask you guys? I am sorry. I keep losing my place, and I said I wasn't gonna do that, but here I go. So, outside of gaming, I know you do a lot of stuff outside of gaming, Nemi. Like, you don't live tanking and WoW, so what other kinds of things do you like to do outside of just meat shielding?
I'm an avid book reader. I'm in WoW for, enough to have a presence known during the week, and then on raids. Other than that, I've dialed back, the amount of time I spend in WoW, hanging out with, friends on Xbox Live, going to the movies, reading books. I think WoW lost a little bit of its magic for me. While I still really enjoy the game, I think I don't spend as much time in it as I've done in the past.
So, Tally, how about you? I know you've been doing some training outside the game. Are you still doing that stuff? What do you do?
Yeah. I go to the gym whenever I have a chance. I try to go at least 4 times a week. I'm up to I'm like 40 pounds.
Wow.
I lost down about like 2.5, 3 months. So I'm
Awesome.
working harder, just trying to get myself more healthy. But But yeah, my girlfriend, so she doesn't help me very much with her Chico's toes, and I don't know, like I don't see the sun much. Like every time I go outside, like it's kind of like I have to like adjust my eyes properly. It's kind of weird.
I'm the same
But
way. I like to go out at night, anyways.
go out at night, right?
Yeah.
Like besides that, go to movies every now and then, get something to eat. I always love hanging out with my girlfriend. We go out whenever we have a chance, and yeah, other than that, but yeah, pretty much gym, WoW, outside, light, food, have fun.
Basic survival things. I wanted to actually talk about that because you've been doing the gym thing. Curtis, Big C, is doing his thing. He's actually putting out training videos and like documenting his stuff. I'm trying to do my own stuff too because I'm nearing 20 pounds lost and I still got more to go. But I wanted to kind of do this thing where we do like healthy gamer things and like we kind of track our progress and stuff like that so that other people who might not be doing anything about it can kind of get into the groove of things, because it's definitely awesome when you have, I mean, I was watching Big C's videos, watching your vlogs when you talk about stuff like that, and one day you live stream from your iPhone while you were in the kitchen making a shake. So it's like you see things like that and you want to adopt those healthy habits too. So definitely thanks for doing all that stuff.
Oh, no problem. I could, maybe in the future I'll put out some training videos, yes, but I guess I'd rather do that kind of when I'm at my target. I'm not doing like the Big C style. I don't like the cameras following me.
He's crazy. He takes his camera to the gym. Yeah, I couldn't.
Yeah, he takes the camera to the bathroom. He goes everywhere with that thing.
Didn't you say you take your phone with you though to watch like Twitch or something sometimes?
Oh, touche. Yes, I do.
I think we're all guilty of that one time or another.
As bad as it sounds, like while I was in the bathroom, doing not number one, but the other number, and I was
other
actually
one.
watching Lore, and I was talking to Lore while I was on the toilet. It was pretty funny. Just about like 30 minutes ago, because he's streaming. Lore's doing like some level 70 to 74 BGs, and
yeah,
like,
he's doing bro grounds.
What's going on? He's like, Towelliee, what's up? What's going on? I'm like talking to you from the toilet. He's like awkward.
Just a little awkward. Well, I mean, when you have like it all at your fingertips, it's like easy to just take it wherever you go. Definitely. So, what I also wanted to ask you, because not a lot of people, plenty of people know about your tagline, hammer fuck your face, but where did it really come from? When did you start saying that? Because I watched your videos even before I was with TGN, but I never saw like where it came from, where it started.
It was just a random Warsong Gulch, and I even asked some other guys in my live stream, can you guys find me that video where I first said hammer fuck your face?
That would be awesome.
And I was just, yeah, someone probably has a link to it. And I believe I was chasing like a mage up the tunnel with the flag, and then I hit him with a hammer of wrath, and the hammer of wrath hit him pretty hard, and it got me excited. So I kind of said it like kind of like in like a tard way. Like I just yelled at him. I'm like, oh, take that, and I was just like, hammer of fuck your face, like that. I said it kind of like that, like really slowly, and then all of a sudden I didn't think anything of it. Next thing you know, people are just like responding with in the replies to the comment video, oh, hammer fuck your face, that was amazing, dude, hammer fuck your face. Next thing you know, people have little macros every time they hammer wrap somebody, and I'm like, oh, I guess and I just really kept saying it. Like I didn't even really pay attention to the comments till like weeks and a month later, but I just every other video I kept saying it because it kind of felt cool to say, and it kind of rolls off the tongue when you throw your hammer of wrath back and you say it.
It's become a trademark. It's definitely become trademark, and now your live stream viewers, should they sub, they'll get the little hammer. They'll get their own little hammer fuck your face next to their chat name. So I have mine. Nemi. I should probably call you Nemi, but his name people is Nemacyst on Garona. So I have to ask you this because it's prompted by some people who want to know. I've gotten some feedback from that, unnecessary torture of a guildmaster? Was that the thing that we used to put out when we tortured you when you would DC? Or AFK?
Yeah, that was AFK, DC, whatever I had to do at the time, yeah.
So, okay, so how do you deal with being the tortured GM? Because I know that one time you AFK'd and we actually restyled you at the barber shop, and then the other time we drowned you.
I crashed, I lost power, and Dilly logged me back on because they were doing, I think, a molten core run, and I was trying to get like the one of the bindings to make my hand of rag, and so after all of that, yeah, they ended up completely doing a makeover, changing hair, facials, you know, giving me, I think, a new jaw or a busted jaw, you know. You got to learn to love it because, you know, being the guild leader, I get picked on, so it's one of those things. Either, you know, you take it in stride, or you retaliate back. And there's not saying that have not retaliated.
You have?
Not to the same extent, obviously, but there's been getting people back in other ways.
Well, it's understandable, but it was all in good fun. The drownings and the, you know, the life grippings and all that good stuff. You guys, I'm going to do my last 30-second break here, and then we're going to come back and wrap it up. I would like to also leave a couple minutes for the questions from chat. I am making notes when people type out a question. So, yeah, let's do that last break, and then we'll be right back with you. Thank you, Towelliee. Okay, we are back. So, all right. First thing I want to do before I go on with the end of the questions is remind everyone our guest Nemacyst is on Garona server, Horde side. The guild is Troika, and he's the guild leader. And here's the website address again. troikagarona.com. That's my former guild as well. And if you go to that site, you can app. They are definitely looking to start 25s. They have a solid 10-man core, so definitely look them up if you're looking for an awesome group of people to raid with. Towelliee, as you guys all know, he raids with Huge in Japan. That's Kill Jaden Alliance. He's on Twitch TV/Towelliee, and he's also on YouTube under Console Crusader. And I had this copied here. There we go. And also, you guys, if you sub to his Twitch TV, you get your own hammer fuck your face, so don't forget that. So, alright, so now before I go on here, guys, Nemacyst. You're gonna hate me for this. I have to ask, though. There's a lot of videos from, like, way back in the day when I very first started frapsing Troika, drunken raid nights and stuff. What's with balls? Like, what's with you saying balls all the time?
There was the original that started. There was a member in the guild who's no longer with us that would always say, "This person loves balls." So it caught on for whatever reason. So again, like I said, you run with it, because the more you push against people, the more mentality they get where they want to push back harder. So I figured if I just let them have their fun, their time, with whatever aspect of balls they wanted to do, then I would just go with it. So I think the first video you did, we were doing twin Valks.
Yeah.
And I was explaining the encounter, so I just kind of took it to the next level and just said it every other word. After that, it became one of those things. It still runs through the guild today, and you know, it's just, you deal with it. You just go with it.
So, Towelliee, here's one for you. I'm actually going through chat and picking out the ones that stick out. What would Blizzard have to do to make you leave the game?
I don't know. Lock me in like freaking basement 90 million feet under the earth with like a, you know, pack of pedophiles or something. I don't know. They'd have to just, they probably couldn't. I'd find a way. They'd have to lock me away somewhere for a very long time. I don't think that can possibly happen.
What realm are you mostly playing on? Is it fair to say Kill Jaden, because that's where you raid?
Um, wow. I mean, now, I mean, with the live stream and everything, I just try to keep it even across all the servers. But most of the time, yeah, probably kill Jaden is probably what I'm doing most of the time because I'm tanking there most of the time.
And somebody wanted to know, do you really have an EU account? I can attest that yes, because when you're signed in, I can't see you online when you're on EU.
Yeah, I have a Euro account, and I have another Paladin tank who's level 85 on ENR EU, and I have a 80 Shaman and an 82 Death Knight tank. So I have a few characters already going on Europe, and I'm just playing with the fans over there. So
What is the one thing that you can't currently broadcast that you wish you could?
Born.
Really?
Wait, what? Oh,
I'm just curious. It's just the...
hold on. I did a Will Ferrell block out there. Broadcast. I mean Star Wars, The Old Republic, of course. Star Wars.
Yeah, because they haven't lifted their hammers up on that. I guess that really sucks because I'm not in beta and it's something I really want to see. So I know that
I want to show
that's
everybody, but they won't let me.
yeah, definitely. Wait a second here. Now it's starting to go by way too fast. This is the fastest I've ever seen my chat room. Indian Towelliee, how did maybe TGN direct? Well, Big C found me, but Towelliee was one of the first TGN directors that was like really cool and like welcoming to me, and I used to look to his videos to kind of inspire mine because like I've been making videos a long time. You guys can, Nemacyst can attest to the fact that I would always come around and like I would have fraps running nonstop. I would torture my guild, like absolute torture. Every single person, oh hey guys, I'm frapsing, don't say anything you don't want, and they would always have to be, I guess, on camera, so to speak. Hey, was that really annoying, Nemi, when I was constantly having cameras?
Well, it wasn't even that. You were at the point where you're like, okay, let's do that again. Like, let's do that again. No, the way you ran down that hallway, do it one more time.
Pretend you're running into the instance a second time, even though you just ran by me once already.
Hey, we killed the vampire bitch in ICC. Jump down the tunnel and use your parachute cloak. You know, like, oh, do it again. No, run back up there, do it one more time. You know, things like that because you needed that shot so you could put in the next video. Oh yeah. No, it wasn't annoying. It brought a lot of people closer together, and you know, I mean, between all the videos you made, the silly ones to the more professional ones, I mean, I think everybody that got to be part of them really enjoyed doing it.
Well, I definitely, all you guys were a huge part of, like, you're my first Horde guild. I was Alliance. I was evil for so long. And so you guys were my first Horde guild, and so you definitely have that stamp on my memories of that side of things. Let me see here. Question is, how long... Well, I think they answered that already, Fat Kid, was how long they've been playing... Well, I said when did you start tanking? Did you guys start back in vanilla? Towelliee, have you been playing since it came out?
Yeah, I've been playing since it came out. And I played in the beta too a little bit when my friends were trying to convince me to play, and I was making fun of them.
Nemi?
Fun of me.
I played in beta. I played Alliance in beta just because I didn't want to experience the Horde stuff because I knew I was going to be Horde. And day one, I was on Garona.
So
been since day one.
Here, now it's scrolling by me too fast. I didn't plan on chat being that busy. If Pellets could have any one spell in the game, well, you know DKs can have any one spell in the game. You stole my life grip, actually. Nemi?
Yeah, in a PvP standpoint, DS can steal, or Dark Simulacrum can steal just about any spell.
You stole my life grip and used it back on me, so there, you did get me.
Bubbles, Divine Hymn. Some silly shit, yeah, just to see if you could.
Did they actually fix any of that yet, or is it still like you can do anything?
In PvP, I don't think there's a limit. The only thing you cannot steal, because they don't count it as a spell, is Army. When it first came out, it was broken. You could steal Army.
Oh, God.
So you could have 2 Army. But I installed a Priest Shadow Fiend, so I really don't think there's a... Maybe not Water Elemental. Haven't tried it. Maybe it's something I'll try next. But I really don't think that there's a limit to what you can steal.
Towelliee, what is your favorite boss in Kata? Do you have a favorite boss?
Resort.
Really?
Without a doubt.
That's the one where you get to do the most stuff. Oh, and damage.
Yeah, it's like the damage. It's like It's like one of those like e-peen contests, yeah, with the other warrior. It's like, or the warrior, the death knight, whoever is with you there. It's just like it's like the only fight that I can think of. I'm trying to think here. Maybe unless you got bitten during the queen, whatever her name was in ICC, where you could just like do insane amount of damage, and it's just like, you know, whispers. You're whispering to the tank like, "Well, what's up, man? What's up with your 85k? I just did 100k DPS. What's good, dude?"
I never
It's like,
got bit on that fight, so I don't know.
yeah. It's a good, and it's also a good fight for rotating your cooldowns too, as a tank, controlling the tantrums from the ads on a hard mode. And I like it. I like that fight a lot. It's probably my favorite.
All right, so I'm gonna do two more questions here, you guys. I don't want to keep you like all night, but the one that Des was asking is, what are your favorite classes to go against in PvP? Tally, what do you just like completely own all the time in PvP?
Warriors.
Really? I thought you loved eating
Yeah.
mages.
No. What? Mages love to eat me. I'm the one cuckooing about it. Like if I'm doing prop power in PvP, like the mages just like, you know, they press one button and then I just sit there like hanging out until I can get out of this Nova. If I'm a rep paladin, I'm squishy against them when they do that snap thing and whatever the hell it is.
Oh.
But no, but without a doubt, like warriors, I love destroying warriors because, you know, like when they don't have a healer, it's kind of like they're a little on the helpless side against other melee.
Well, when I have my priest, my other priest on over on Kill Jaden, I can dispel all that crap. But you usually, I guess, you're not used to having a pocket healer in PvP. You like outrun heals all the time.
Yeah.
Nemi, what's your favorite class to go against in PvP as a DK?
Probably rogues, because you can basically ignore stuns for a little bit, so it kind of makes the fight, you know, kind of heavy-handed to the other side. You know, DKs don't have any kind of stun, and you know, Death Grip being a 35-second cooldown, you can only get a warrior away from you one time. The mobility sucks when you're trying to fight. DKs have, other than a 35-second cooldown, we have really no way to control mobility. So any class that can get away from us tends to give you more of a push. I mean, that's in tank spec. In Frost, it's probably warriors. I think they lost some of their light, their spotlight when it came to the PvP as it is now.
So I'm gonna go on to the other thing the other question that I wanted to get in before the end. What is your favorite expansion and why? And I asked the girls this one on the last show, and maybe it's something I'll ask every guest because I guess it says a lot about your play style.
Burning Crusade was my favorite by far. It had the most fun fights. I think Illidan was a pretty intense fight during progression, and Sunwell was just, besides Ulduar, Sunwell was like just an amazing challenge overall. It was like it was one of the first instances that really just challenged all the guilds, and it kind of, you know, stopped the whole entire thing that all bosses are easy in WoW. You know, at the time I think it was only like 0.002 something percent of the people that killed Jade, and then, you know, it was such a hard, you know, instance to encounter, and but it was by far my favorite expansion. Has still been the Burning Crusade, because it was, you know, it was the beginning for me of my prop paladin tanking, as well as, you know, everything else with more difficult bosses than I guess you see in Wrath and the now in Cataclysm.
Yeah, definitely. How about you, Nemi? What was your favorite expansion and why?
Probably Wrath, only from the standpoint is that, you know, I did not have as much fun in the previous expansions. So even in the raiding aspect, I really delved into it more in Wrath than I did when I was playing my lock in BC or even Vanilla. I mean, back in Vanilla, you know, I was doing Nax and stuff like that, and even AQ 20 and 40, but, you know, I stopped right at the end, took a little break because I kind of got burnt out, came back in BC, and then didn't really get into raiding as much as I would have wanted with everything going on in real life. So Wrath really, you know, I guess rekindled my desire and my joy that I get out of WoW.
Cool. Well, you guys, I just wanted to thank you both for joining me. This is like a new endeavor of mine, having a live WoW show with guests, and I enjoy it a lot. I love putting on like broadcasts and having it be like actually have some content that people be interested in hearing about. So thank you so much for joining. Tally, you're awesome. Nemi, you've always been awesome for, you know, playing with Angarona and even Tally's cracking me up. But thank you guys for taking the time. Is there anything you wanted to add that maybe I didn't bring up throughout the show? Anything you want to like draw attention to? I mentioned Nemi's recruiting. Towelliee, do you have anything, any projects going on right now that you want to mention?
No, not really. Everything's just, same as normal, twitch.tv/Towelliee. Come hang out and have some fun, doing different. I've been doing a lot more console games now, so I'm hoping to bring some more videos to my personal channel and TGN now that I'm getting more settled into my live stream. But yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. No, thank you for having me. You're wonderful. By the way, you look amazing tonight.
Thank
Did you
you.
do your hair or something?
No, I just got it cut like last week, but that's that's all I did. Thank you
Change the
though.
color.
What?
Did you change the color?
Just my light, just my overhead light.
It might be the room too in the back. Where'd you get that big Cataclysm box, by the way? That thing is huge.
Cataclysm release night, they were giving stuff away, and they're like, "Who wants this big?" I would try to get the whole stand-up cutout, and that's what I ended up getting was a huge, oversized game box.
Wow,
So I
want
kept
that.
it.
Cool. No, thank you for having me. You're great.
No, it was fun. And Nemi, how about you? Do you have anything you'd like to add outside of recruiting towards 25 mans? Anything going on that you want to bring up here for the chat room?
No, I'm good. Thanks for having me. Again, being tortured by you as a player, so thanks.
I wasn't torture this time. Wait till I get in game. Maybe I can help with that. Got to get some
Yeah.
life gripping. I'm starting to go through withdrawal. So thank you guys, all you viewers out there. I know that so many of you are Towellee's viewers. I appreciate so much you guys coming by and watching. This will continue on Fridays at 10 p.m. Eastern. I'll continue to come up with good good content for you guys. Keep tuning in. Other than that, I'm going to be streaming raids and trying to get into some random battlegrounds for you guys so that I can do some healing over there. So again, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to do one more quick break here, and then I'm going to go offline for about 10 minutes, but then I'll come back and do some after party stuff. And Vanita's here, so maybe we'll get to talk to her a little bit. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. See you later.
Thanks.